City of Troy Board of Park Commissioners meeting for Tuesday, December 9th. Abby, can you please call the roll?
Mr. Emmerich,
Here.
Mr. Harrelson,
Here.
Mrs. Anderson.
Here.
All members are present.
Awesome. First item on the agenda here is the approval of our minutes. We have two different minutes. One is our November 3rd meeting. So before, let's take a look at that real quick. Our November 3rd meeting minutes. Are there any additions, deletions, subtractions to those minutes? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, November 3rd, November 3rd, minutes approved. Moving on to our November 10th minutes. This was our special park board meeting. There is some notes on that one on the second insert in our packet. Are there any additions, subtractions, or deletions to those minutes? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, minutes approved. All right, moving on to our reports. First up, good afternoon, Mr. Drake.
Good afternoon. Sorry I didn't have a written report. I was quite literally without a computer for almost a week and working out of two different offices. So finally got my new computer last week, and along with that I want to thank our park staff. They've done a phenomenal job of helping with the move, getting the new building set up. The last week and a half we've mostly been tasked with just getting new racking, shelving. We had just an empty shell of a building and wanted to have all that in place before we start actually moving all the assets over to the new building. So they've done a great job with that. Outside of that, we were heavy into fall cleanup when we got snowfall. Well, actually have worked on two different snowfall events now with plowing and salting. So they've done a good job with that. All the Christmas, obviously, decorating's wrapped up. We always are heavily involved with Christmas decorating in the city, as well as the levee lights that we do each year on the levee. So park crews have just done a fantastic job with all of that over the last month. So I think that's about it.
So do you have a estimated move-in date?
Yeah, I would say right now we're probably about 75% in the new building. All the staff is now meeting there. My office is now most of the way moved. Still a little bit to come over yet. And I would think within another week and a half to 2 weeks, before Christmas for sure, we'll be fully 100% into the new building. And at some point, I know we've talked about a building dedication. We're going to shoot for early January, I would think, that we'd be ready to do that.
Okay. In the existing building that you're in now, that's going to be kind of a shared resource, primarily mostly with Ken's team, but you're going to be
yeah, primarily Hobart Arena, obviously, and then if there's room, Ken and I have talked about what we call the truck bay or the pull-through bay closest to Staunton. If there's room and they don't need the entire building, we've talked about housing the showmobile and all the Float Troy assets and trailers that have up until now had to sit outside year-round. We may have the luxury now of being able to get those indoors would be the goal.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Only other question I had is came up at the city council meeting, I think last month, about McKagan Race Park, the trees we were planting there.
Yes.
We planted some trees there, and then we decided, based off some feedback we received, to relocate some existing or unplanted trees to where?
Luckily we got that feedback when about 70 out of the 100 trees that were slated to be planted there, about 70 were already planted. So we were able to halt that, and those additional 30 went into the Robinson Reserve.
Okay.
So if you go, anybody wants to see those, at the Robinson Reserve, where the south shelter is, one of the new shelters we put in this year, all along kind of that short connector loop, the shorter loop, those trees are planted along that walkway and all near that shelter.
Okay.
So, and that did allow two fairly sizable open green spaces to be left at McKay Grace Park. So
excellent.
I think luckily we got that feedback in time and we're able to make those changes.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Drake? All right. Next up, Mr. Seiler, and I saw an announcement that it's 30 years of service. Is that correct?
Yes, 30 years of service.
30 years of service. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Sir.
Appreciate it.
Yes. So, well,
Had to bring that up today.
Had
didn't
had to, had
Yep.
to.
I'm not sure how
I
much
forgot
you
all about
appreciate
that.
it,
That's it. Had to bring it out. So,
Oh, jeez.
anyways, welcome.
Thank you, Jordan, Mr.
Yep.
Emmerich. Just a couple quick things to add to my report. One is as you'll notice on there, our season passes for the aquatic park for 2026 went on sale December 1st. We've already sold 40 season passes for next year, which I think is pretty much in line with where we generally are about this time. We do a $20 off discount during the month of December. And then also, starting January the 2nd, as we do each year, we will start shelter reservations for the 2026 calendar year, which we usually take reservations effective April 1st, but we'll start taking those at 8 a.m. on January the 2nd.
Any questions for Mr. Seiler? All right, Mr. Boer,
Good afternoon.
good afternoon.
Just a couple things to add. So the course has been closed, obviously, due to snow for around the past 2 weeks or so. Just reopened for walking today, although I don't anticipate with the coming weather that to last too long or for us to be having too much play as far as outdoors go. We are still in the midst of doing signups for simulator leagues, for the leagues that'll start here at the beginning of the new year. Senior one that we run has about 20 players in it. That's pretty consistent with what we've had in previous years. And then our evening league has around 70 players, which is once again pretty consistent with what we've had. The senior one runs Monday through Thursday, and the other one runs Monday through Friday in the evenings. So things are going pretty well there, as well as the usage of the simulator so far this season being pretty much in line with what we've seen in previous years.
Excellent. And I know we have an appointment to make during new business, but this is going to be your last park board meeting?
It is. So I would just like to say a very heartfelt thank you to the park board, to the city of Troy, for just the last 7 years for this opportunity for me and my family, and the wonderful experience that it's been working for the city, and to every person who I've come in contact with as a city employee. This has been a truly an outstanding organization and municipality to work for. So thank you.
Thank you for your kind words, and you're going to be awesome in your future endeavors. No doubt.
Appreciate that.
So, anything else for Mr. Burr? Nothing for me from the Planning Commission, which takes us to new business. Abby, is there anything I need to do other than make a motion and for this appointment, or is there an actual document? Or
There is no actual document. I didn't know if Charlotte wanted to introduce him.
yeah, I'll call Tim up here.
Or
but I
if him give a little background.
yeah, I was going to do that. I just didn't know real quick. Okay, Mr. Greaser, would you please come up real quick, and if you could,
Raise your right hand.
we're not going to do that, but if you could really just give a quick introduction to yourself, and then we'll go through and make our appointment on our side.
Yes, of course. Thank you to the Park Board and to the City of Troy. My name is Tim Greaser. I will be your new Director of Golf for Miami Shores Golf Course starting Monday. It's going to be here before you know it, so I'm excited for the opportunity. I was born and raised in Clark County, graduated from Northwestern, graduated also from Wright State University back in 2000, worked for the City of Springfield for about 15, 16 years. And then worked for the Southern Ohio PGA as our tournament director, running tournaments across Southern Ohio. So again, thank you for the opportunity, and looking forward to getting started. And Kyler, best of luck to your future endeavors. It's nice to meet. I'm Ken and Jeremy. I'm presume. Yeah, nice to meet you guys. So thank you.
We're very excited to have you on board as we kind of discuss about Kyler. Obviously, very saddened with him leaving, but excited to have someone with you and your skill set on board. So. Looking forward to it.
Yeah,
and,
thank you.
And thanks for being here today. So, going on to new business, I'll make a motion to appoint Tim Greaser to the position of Director of Golf for Miami Shores Golf Course.
Second?
Is there a second? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Motion carried. Tim appointed. All right. The next item we have on new business is a presentation Jeremy, do you want to kind of walk us
Yeah,
through this
sure.
real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have Donnie Knight with us from U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. I think Donnie's no new name really to any of us. He worked last year on the H2 Ohio grant that we received for a lot of the restoration work that's already gone into the Timba area at Duke Park. This is kind of an extension of that, but I wanted to bring him. I thought it'd be better to have him actually here present this whole project, this new one. It's a whole new grant through H2 Ohio. He's here. I think have a short presentation, and then we'll be a lot better to answer any questions that you may have once he kind of gives you the overview of what we're looking to do out there.
Okay,
Donnie?
great.
Okay, yeah, I'll try to kind of move through this with enough information so you guys have a little background, but I also want to make sure you guys have time to maybe answer some questions or ask questions. One thing, I named it because it's such a new project. We haven't really engaged you all on what you would name it. So right now, we're going to call it the Duke Park Timba Oxbow Restoration. This is, as Jeremy said, this is funding-wise primarily through the ODNR H2 Ohio Rivers Initiative. The tree planting was another branch of H2 Ohio. It was the wetland initiative. That program is currently only being offered in the Lake Erie watershed, so we were fortunate enough to have the H2 Ohio Rivers Initiative pick this project up. Also, obviously, I work for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service under a program called the Partners for Fish and Wildlife Program. We essentially provide technical and financial assistance to non-state or federally owned lands or landowners. And then, of course, you all, Troy, City of Troy Parks. So first, start 1,000-foot view. What is an oxbow? Why are they important? So that is a picture of, it's actually a park, a state park. It's on a much larger system, the Mississippi River there to your right, and that is a named lake now. They often get names of lakes when they become disconnected from the river. But essentially, you've maybe seen videos in science class or, National Geographic documentary, but basically our rivers have what we call sinuosity. And essentially they're S-curves in the river, right? So as those S-curves get tighter and tighter, eventually the river finds the easiest path. So you can see the Mississippi, that used to be its alignment, the big C shape, if you will, on the left there. And the Mississippi current alignment is there on the right, the muddier water. Why they are important, and since we have folks from Miami Shores actually sits on an old oxbow of the Great Miami River. They're almost completely gone from a lot of our Midwestern rivers, and we've lost a lot of that function and that benefit, not only to us as humans with infrastructure along the rivers, but also our water quality, fish habitat, things like that. So there's a couple examples there. Sediment nutrients, when that river connects into that oxbow during flood levels, if it's even allowed to, it will offload a lot of the sediment nutrients. And is the group here all familiar with the Spring Creek off-channel wetland that we did just north of the Timba? Basically, I'll have some pictures of. Essentially, we're looking at doing an extension of that system in the floodplain to provide even more of those benefits. So sediment nutrient traps, reduction in flood energy, as well as flood stage if you get enough of these on the landscape. Critical fish habitat, there's a lot of fish that require a habitat like this to spawn or for some portion of its life cycle. Migratory bird stopover, nesting, brooding habitat. And it also provides recreational opportunities, and we'll get kind of into that as we go. I hit the wrong arrow.
There we go.
Woo, we're back.
Gotta keep this behind my back. Okay, so next, we're looking at the proposed layout. So if you look there, now I can use my laser. Obviously, Robinson Reserve, you're all familiar with that. Just down into the floodplain, this is the Spring Creek confluence. So this is an excavated 14-acre basin that's got connection to both Spring Creek and the Great Miami River. Historically, it's a little hard to see, but there's a blue line. Let's see if I can steady my hand. The blue line, and that's where when the river would jump, or the creek would jump out, the creek alignment used to be actually in that blue line, and it would come down through and out. Our floodplains were very diverse. I mean, it's hard to point and say this is where it was. It moved across that whole landscape for a long time, since the last ice age. So we're trying to get some of that back. So this proposal is to come down where it's not forested. It would still have this flood area, if you've never been back there. And we would essentially connect in to that little relic area that holds water, connect into that, and then that polygon, orange polygon, would be the excavation area. And that area is where we purposely left out of the tree planting. Been doing invasive management. There's mountain bike trails through there, with the idea that possibly this could be in addition to a lot of the work that's been going on in this complex of floodplain. So, let's see. Oh, we'll do that again. So one thing I did want to point out, we are talking about excavation. There are currently mountain bike trails right now. And I apologize, this is hard to see, but some things I would point out. One, just generally speaking, mountain biking, if you wanted to do hiking, that will remain as a use for this property. Basically, you can see these squiggly lines within the excavation proposed. And essentially, we would, if you see some of those, I'll just give an example. If there's like an extension that goes out into the wetland, we would just help as part of this project to just make a new alignment to where it just turned along the wetland. So I've looked at it, I've walked it, mapped it, and we're going to be able to really, we don't have to get rid of any trail, we just have to change their alignment. Another important part, this would be the main entrance, which is emergency access, among maybe other things, but we would maintain that in the area through a box culvert and or a low water crossing, but essentially we would make sure when the area is fit for mountain biking that if emergency services need to get back there to help somebody out, they will be able to maintain that. And essentially that water, as oxbows go, what you'll probably see is, this happens on a lot of our projects, at a certain stage, you're going to see water backing in where it naturally does, up, probably up to here, and eventually the river jumps out right in this area and flows across, and then it starts connecting here, and then when it's a big flood, which we had this spring, this whole thing's underwater, 4, 5, 6 feet, 6 feet of water. So, and then last thing, just as I mentioned, we put, I don't know, $50,000 close to it of trees out there, shelters. We're not having to remove those for this project to start with. New opportunities. So these pictures are not, the only picture not from this area was the Mississippi River because it was a good example. These pictures I made as close to where we're talking about as possible, which is right to the north on the restoration that is completed at Spring Creek. It's my little nephew from Virginia. He caught that in a 4-foot wide cast net, and that pike is pushing 3 feet. I couldn't believe he actually pulled it off. But the migratory, if you have any birders here, this is the upper basin, what I call the upper basin. This is right by the boat ramp of the back basin, so your mountain bike area is right back here in that background. this is spring migration, you got hooded mergansers, redhead ducks, we have all kinds of different birds that stop over, both waterfowl, shorebirds, different things. So there's two new added opportunities that don't exist, but, well, I guess wildlife viewing could be already, but some added value to a park without changing the current use. So this is a cross-section. Forgive me, I am not a computer person or an artist, and it's probably showing up pretty well right now. So I'll try to explain this. Cross-section view of what we're doing. This is our current elevation. So that's that field that's mowed, where we got trees on each side from the tree planting or that are natural. And the proposal is to go into that area that I showed, that kind of long winding polygon. And we're going to excavate out a basin. So that will be the main basin. This is probably your topsoil area, 4 to 6 feet. And then within that, we'll have a meandering channel with pools that'll be deeper, permanent water for fish habitat. So here I have shown it's like a seasonal high water pool, so you'll have like a really wide channel in the spring and part of the summer or during flood events. But then in the summer, going into fall, you're going to have a lower area. We'll install large woody debris, boulders, things like that, to enhance that portion of it for fish and wildlife. So this would be a high water example. This is the back basin. So this is literally timber. You can see one of your trails. This is the wetland. This is during excavation, so that's gone. But this is basically right when we were doing the project. You can still see the haul roads and everything. This is the upper basin. So this is now all Robinson Reserve. This is the path that goes back, still maintained. Maybe as you can see, the river's up and over that path. This is Spring Creek, so this is where it connects in. So this would be what you would be looking at during, let's say, February through, typically we have this type of water through probably the middle of June, sometimes 1st of July, and then as the water table starts to drop, you'll see it drop out. Late summer, fall, then we're getting into more of this stage. So we're still in the excavated area. We're kind of down to the smaller parts, pockets, channels that will maintain fish habitat. So this is that same Duke Park, the back basin. So basically, the Timba area is right down here. You can see there's exposed islands starting to revegetate. There's little channels back in here. And then you'll have annual wetland and prairie type species, as well as some trees and stuff, because we're not going to keep it from growing in the trees. The floodplain wants to be a forest. So that's kind of what you're looking at in the lower months. I wanted to point out that this fluctuates a lot. So it's not going to be a pond or a flowing river. It's going to be very much, sometimes it's connected, sometimes it's not, sometimes it's high, sometimes it's low, but we'll make sure we maximize the space for the water quality benefits, the flood benefits, as well as the fish and wildlife. So real quick into the financial thing, I didn't look the exact number, so we're looking at around $480,000. I want to say it's 482, but real close to that number. That's been funded, accepted through the H2 Ohio Rivers Initiative. That basically will fund the project. We don't see any needs. That was based off of my cost estimate of similar projects. So the city of Troy, we're not asking for any additional financial input. Design, construction oversight will be provided by our agency, as well as some of the work on like the GIS type stuff, and the engineering will be provided through a private consultant. Really, the main goal or the main input respectful ask of the city of Troy, because we can't, as the federal government, we can't accept these funds. We would just need to ask the city of Troy, just like the tree planting, to manage that grant. Quarterly reports, I provide the performance reports for the city of Troy, and then I ask you guys to do the financial reports. We turn those in. I'm out on site during the restoration to kind of make sure everything's being done correctly, or if contractors have questions. And then really the future management, these are not heavy on needing to do a lot. Miami County Park District, outside of going out and doing some invasive treatments, maybe mowing ahead of an educational workshop, it's pretty much put it there and let it function as a habitat in the floodplain. So very little input, I will say, as Jeremy probably understands this, or our golf superintendents. What you stay on top of problems, be it a weed or a invasive or whatever, it makes it a better project and makes those headaches a lot less if you stay on top of them. So there are obviously things we're doing out there now that could be continued, but the idea is to make this a kind of self-sustaining project from the function that we're aiming for. So where are we at? What's next? The scope of work has been completed and approved by H2 Ohio. Obviously, the application was approved for that dollar amount. The contract, it has been drafted. We went ahead, talked to Jeremy, myself. We decided, well, we could go ahead and get that stuff done, get it to a contract draft to where everything's ready to go for you guys to review. So that's kind of where we're at. The Fish and Wildlife, as I mentioned, not only taking part in the on-the-ground activities, but we're leading the permitting process to not put that burden on you guys. So 90% of that's done. Really the only thing left is we just have to do a follow-up SHPO, historic preservation, if you're not familiar with that. But all the Army Corps, EPA, all that stuff's completed, our agency's completed. So it's really as shovel-ready as it can be at this point, minus approval from the parks. So that's kind of where we're at. Jeremy's familiar with this. Once we get a signed contract, an account will be set up to be able to make payments, reimbursements out of that. So, and that is all I have. Try to go through it, leave time for you guys. If you have questions, I can go over something more.
So we've had questions as far as timber maintenance. Does this do anything to make it easier to maintain it all, or not? I know that's.
Yeah, for sure. I want to touch on that for sure. Thank you, Donnie.
Yeah,
did a good
thank you
job.
very much, Tom.
So when I first contacted Donnie, how long has that been? Probably 2 years ago now, maybe.
Yeah.
Timba was at a place they were ready to shut down. Jeff Schultz called me. They had lost their volunteer base, and he kind of just called me in frustration. It was like, I can't keep up with it. We all know Jim Stubbs. He kind of took on another property, wasn't able to help on Timba as much, and those were our two main guys. So I kind of put the brakes on it, like, let's not give up on it just yet. Back in the very beginning, he didn't want to entertain. Donnie had some ideas for all this and didn't want to entertain it when they could take care of Timba themselves. And it was all invasive, honeysuckle and just nasty stuff back there that took a ton of maintenance. And so that's when I reached back out to Donnie. He came in and kind of came up with this plan to get rid of all that invasive stuff and actually reduce the maintenance drastically. And even though they still don't have their volunteer base back up to the way they used to, they've been able to stay operational and keep trails at least open, and we still have Timba because of the work that we started probably a year and a half ago or so now. So this, to your question, actually cuts down even more on some of that maintenance and what they call the prairie trails, where Donnie showed kind of those weaving, winding trails. It was a ton of maintenance in the floodplain. Some of those just get realigned, and it actually takes away from the amount of maintenance in that area. To Donnie's point, we'll always have invasives to control. If we kind of mimic what Miami County Park District's done on their piece just to the north, you're right, Donnie. Like, there's not a ton of maintenance that goes into that. It is very much just a natural area. like I said, outside of the invasive control, which we'll always have to do, this drastically cuts down on the amount of maintenance in this area, which was the initial goal on our side at least. Is kind of a win-win because they're accomplishing what their initiative is, and our whole goal in the very beginning was just to cut down on maintenance for Timba so we could keep it going.
Yeah.
So we accomplished both of those.
And so we're not losing any trails or anything basically through this, but there will probably be a period where it's shut down, right?
There will be a time for sure, and also know that we've already talked with Brian Strawn, who's kind of leading now, kind of replaced Schultz and kind of leading the volunteer group. They're on board with it. They understand what the ultimate goal is, which is to continue to reduce their maintenance and keep them operational. And they've kind of reviewed the preliminary and have been on board supportive the whole time.
And one, I guess from that standpoint of, how much time or how will it be able to be still utilized? Obviously, when you have the size of equipment we're gonna be running, there's gonna be areas just out of safety standpoint we wanna close down, but all of the river trail, that's away from anything we're doing. I don't see any reason we wouldn't be able to have that maintained, so it's really just, as Jeremy said, out in that prairie trail. We would just wanna have everything marked and kind of blocked off to where folks aren't riding along in a big excavator or something. So,
Yeah.
Okay, so where we are right now, so we do have the contract before us, or Donnie sent that to me. That will be forwarded to Grant once, there are any other questions, or depending on how the board feels, we still need to get that to our law director for review. Mr. Titterington still needs to see that as well. And then from there, we, want a recommendation to move forward if everything comes back and ready to move forward with the contract.
One point I just thought of, can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, you're fine.
I did, along with kind of working through this and getting Jeremy and I have been able to look over it, make sure we at least initially didn't see any issues before it came to you guys. One thing I did get clearance on, or a clear understanding of, is the current land use, mountain biking, if there ends up being hiking, fishing, all of that stuff is able to be done under this H2O contract. So it's not going to change. We're not going to have to exclude people from the area.
Yeah. I guess that was my other question. If you are going to kind of promote this as a different fishing environment that we currently have, are there trails to access and get back there now, or are you walking up the riverbank now to get there?
So that's something we need to work out with Timba still. So we kind of had I want to say a handshake, just general agreement with them that they excluded walking on the trails, because at the time when all the invasives were there and the honeysuckle had choked the trails off so bad, there were so many blind corners that it was dangerous for people to be back there walking and having dogs and that kind of stuff on the Timba trails. So we went ahead and posted it that there was no pedestrian traffic back there. This could change a lot of that now that the trails are wide open. All the honeysuckles, for the most part, is gone, and you've got sight distance now where it's kind of eliminated that hazard. We can certainly look at opening this up more, and they would be essentially on the mountain bike trails if we allowed it.
Okay.
It'd be like more of a shared use path, but I don't know, I've not drilled down to that level yet with Timba to see kind of what the feeling is moving forward with that.
Donnie, how is this affected, if at all, with the dam removal and the water levels?
So actually, it works right in tune with it. We've done some modeling. It wasn't required for the dam project from MCD's standpoint because it's not within their flood protection area. It occurs outside of it, but yeah.
You probably need to be at the microphone just for the recording.
Oh, yeah, I wondered about that. Okay. So it's not going to negatively impact either way. It's not going to impact how the water flows, because these are disconnected from the river. We're not rerouting the river, as you saw in that picture. They're connected at high water periods, but when the river comes back down, it goes back into its normal channel. The other piece of it is the lowering the dam or lowering the river is not going to affect it. It is in the footprint,
but our connections are made, they're not, they're kind of what we call bank full or an ordinary high water mark. So they're still gonna be, either way, they're gonna be disconnected from the river. If anything, it's gonna add, as I mentioned, the flood storage component. This one project isn't, I don't wanna paint the picture that Troy will never flood or have issues with flooding. But it adds to that freeboard because we're offloading those high water, giving that, reconnecting the floodplains essentially. So, good question.
Anything else? Thank you, Mr. Knight, and I guess we're gonna, Jeremy, wait on an update. There's a couple more steps that has to happen before we take action from a
Yeah, I
park board
think so.
standpoint.
I think we need, we'll definitely get the contract before the law director
Okay.
and, get his feedback and then go from there. Probably circle back to the board right after that.
Okay.
You good with that? Or that
Yep,
work on your?
Yep, yeah,
Yeah,
Jeremy
we're
has
just ready to go.
contact with me, so if you have any questions,
Yeah,
need to bring anything up, or you see something in there you're not
Yeah.
sure of. And likewise, if the law director, I stay out of the law stuff, but
yeah.
if the law director needs to talk to ODNR law director, we can get that set up pretty easy, so.
Okay.
Sure.
Awesome.
Well, thanks for.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Is there any other business to come before the park board today? Hearing none, the next step is going to be for us, did you have something?
No, I
Will?
was just going to move into executive session.
Our next step is to move into executive session to consider compensation for public employees. Is there a motion to do so?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, let's move into executive session.
Thank you, guys.
Yep. And we'll